Well, it's Martin Luther King Day, which is always a very interesting day because it's a day where the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. is most often used to push forward a very tamed, whitewashed view of racism and the fight against racism and inequality in this country. Um, and a lot of us know this, but a lot of the quotes, like everybody loves to quote, I have a dream on Martin Luther King Day, but nobody wants to talk about, you know, how radical Martin was back in that day and some of the radical things that Martin Luther King called for, and basically like underlining that this is not going to be something that's just handled with like gentle hands. Like there has to be radical fucking change in this country. But we never go into that. We never address the fact that at the time that he was assassinated, Martin Luther King was very, very fucking hated in the United States. He was a nuisance to white America. Honestly, a lot of them said that he deserved to get shot. He was a nuisance because just like then and just like now, white America just did not want to fucking hear it. They either just didn't care, did not want to see us as equal, or they just didn't want to be bothered by this elephant in the room that is racism and the fact that racism is as American as apple pie. Like it has been in this country's DNA from the very fucking beginning. And a lot of people, a lot of people like to, kind of glaze over the fact that, this country was built on the backs of slaves. The economy of the South was built off of the backs of slaves. And then when the Union won the war, it was slave owners that were getting reparations, not the fucking slaves. And and just like he was annoying to them, then a lot of us who are starting to, speak out about our experiences and be very, very honest about, you know, our experiences as Black people, we're annoying people too. We're being annoying. We're annoying the white people in our lives. We're annoying, just white America in general that either don't want to see us as equal or just don't want to be bothered by that inconvenient fact that white privilege exists, and the fact that, you know, this is not this is not something that was just in the past. Like just because when you read about Martin Luther King, all the fucking photos are in black and white, that doesn't mean it was that fucking long ago. His children are still alive. They saw what he went through. Like they're about as old as our parents. Like this is not an old thing. And honestly, like if you're a white person watching this and if you have a Black person in your life or Black people, 9 times out of 10, those people have protected you from having to hear about what life is really like for them, and have protected you and your white fragility from having to hear about racism and about the things that they go through, because that's what we've been taught to do by our parents for survival, but also by society, because we get gaslit every time we want to talk about what it's like for us, and people are like, stop making everything about race. And so we feed into that and we protect you from having to, a lot of us protect you from having to hear about that, because we have to keep you safe and we have to keep you comfortable, because you're our friends, our bosses, our colleagues, our co-workers. And unfortunately, we know, as much as some of y'all don't like to admit, but we know that when it comes down to the wire, like your life and your feelings are going to be valued more than ours ever will. And so we're forced into it. So 9 times out of 10, if you're a white person and you have a Black person in your life, they have been keeping you comfortable. And you might be finding that some of those people in your life are not making you comfortable anymore. They're talking about what has actually happened to them in their life. They're talking about, they are, enforcing the fact that this is a problem. And a lot of us just aren't interested in making you comfortable anymore, because We have been mistreated and abused, and it just happens over and over and over, and everybody has their breaking point. I know I have, for sure. And so, honestly, like, we don't really fucking care about making y'all uncomfortable anymore. Because as uncomfortable as it is for you guys to hear about it and keep hearing about it, it's really fucking uncomfortable for us to keep on experiencing it and then not having any backup from you. That's the thing. And so we're just going to keep on talking about it until change is made. That's the only way that you can address a problem. You don't address a problem by sweeping it under the rug. And I think that's very important to remember this Martin Luther King Day. You know, reflect on what life actually was, what America actually was when that man was alive and when he was leading the civil rights movement. Reflect on what it actually was and what he actually called for, which is radical change. Radical fucking change. Radical change of the system. Everybody loves the I have a dream speech, and my 4 little children one day will live in a country where they are judged not by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. Motherfuckers love to throw out the whole color of this, not by color of the skin, but by the content of the character. And we have to focus on peace and understanding. And like, yeah, peace and understanding after we make the changes that need to be made. And they're not fucking made. So fuck your peace and understanding. Honestly. Very, very easy for y'all to say. Very, very easy. But that's phase 2. Maybe 3 or 4. But there's definitely at least 1 or 2 phases before that. And that phase then included in those first phases is radical change. And it has to happen at not only the government level, but at a social level. Every fucking day of life. Every fucking day of life. You don't have to be an activist to do the work. You don't have to be an activist to check your own privilege, to check your own unconscious bias. You don't have to be an activist to seek out information about white privilege and how you may unknowingly be contributing to a system that continues to abuse and neglect and put down Black people and people of color. That is your responsibility because you benefit from it. And so if there's anything to, if there's anything to be observed on this day, I think it's that. A reminder that there is still a lot of radical change that needs to be made. And it's really shitty to hide behind the I have a dream sentiment, to water it down and again, make yourself feel more comfortable about what the situation actually is. And what that is that life is still hell for a lot of us out here. And just because we haven't talked to you about it like nonstop since the day we met, well, first of all, we know that if we did that, you wouldn't want anything to do with us. And so, like I said, we've watered it down. But a lot of us are tired of watering ourselves down and watering our experiences down. And so I urge you to not seek out these watered down views of what the situation really is. And if you are one of those people that want to observe Martin Luther King Day and say shit about him or acknowledge this day in any way, then I highly suggest that, if you're willing to acknowledge this day, then you also need to acknowledge the work that needs to be done. The work that needs to be done. And it falls with white America. It does. It does. It's uncomfortable. But honestly, boo-hoo. because we've been living through hell for like years. You can be inconvenienced just a little bit. So, happy MLK Day.